All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. So, as you all know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people with the knowledge, insights, and experiences as to what it takes to move yourself towards the best version of yourself. So, this next guest is a mindset and productivity coach who is on a mission to make sure he helps 1 million people go to bed at night knowing they're happy, fulfilled, and satisfied with their day, and that they'll be doing the same thing the following day. He does this by teaching people how to optimize their time, truly love themselves, and attack their goals with a strong why, just to name a few of the many. His devotion to optimizing his life and helping others do the same is what has led to his major success in and out of business. And I can't wait for you all to hear how he operates. So, to officially introduce Trillsteen, what's going on, man?
Oh man, that was a great intro, man. Can I have you before all my Zoom calls? It sounds way cooler when somebody else says that stuff than when you say it about yourself. No,
Yeah,
I'm just
man,
kidding
you
around.
got it.
Yeah, Trevor, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
You bet. So, the thing I want to start with is you talk about how productivity and mindset are really the fundamental building blocks for success in anything in life. Can you talk about why that is? And I completely agree, but to hear you say
Yeah,
it, I think might give people perspective.
yeah, of course. I think, and it's especially relevant now with the world locked down and coronavirus and people, to coming back to real life. But I think what limits people the most is their mind, because the body is capable of a lot more than it realizes, right? And the mind limits it. And it's not just physically, like you can apply this to anything, right? Your relationships, your confidence, the amount of money you can earn. So if it's messed up here, it's going to affect every single area of your life, right? So if you're insecure, you're not going to go up to the girl you want to talk to. If you're not confident, you're not going to ask for the raise you deserve. And I'm sure people, as they hear me list things off, they can say, "Oh, that might be me," or "That might be me," and it all starts in the brain, right? So people might think that no, I just don't have enough knowledge, or I just don't have enough even experience. But the truth is, the way you can overcome a lot of your obstacles is simple training on your brain to make it more positive and to make it more effective.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. And I do think a fundamental piece of that is exactly what you talk about all the time is you need to truly love yourself. So for people who either you coach or you're friends with who ask about this, who aren't quite there yet with themselves, what are like a good first couple of things people can do to start, transitioning into self-love on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I have an interesting background on this, an interesting mix because, I work with a lot of personal trainers. We can get into that a little bit later because I do multiple things. I have multiple occupations. Um, and it's definitely a tough grind, no excuses, hustle, hustle, hustle. And I'm not against that because I happen to believe that the law of attraction without action is delusion. So I don't want people to just think that if they imagine a bunch of money or imagine a bunch of beautiful women that it's just going to come to them, right? It requires actions. And I believe I've tried pretty much everything when it comes to this stuff, writing things down, buying courses, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. But I've found for me personally and the people I work with that the best way to love yourself is to earn loving yourself by getting things done. That's why I believe in productivity so much, because you can tell yourself that you love yourself or say that you're enough and all those things. And I think that's a good thing to do. But unless you prove it to yourself through actual actions, you're not going to believe it. So I think when people feel sad or down, I don't think it's necessarily the right answer to say that's just purely wrong. Your gut is probably telling you something. Your gut is probably saying, "Hey, dude, what you're doing right now, you're capable of more." And I've found, for example, Trevor, you're a high achiever. Have you ever taken a vacation, maybe when you were younger, before you kind of became your best self? And do you ever feel guilty about being on vacation and think about, oh my God, here's all the things I should be doing?
So vacation, not as much, but I used to have it where almost on a daily basis, I would start off my day watching TV or
Sure.
scrolling through social media for way too long.
Yeah.
And that's where you get that feeling of like, yeah, I am totally just wasting my time at this point. I haven't earned this at all.
Yeah, it's a workaholic thing, right? A lot of us have that feeling. Um, and I found the only way for me to enjoy time off is to know that I earned it, right? So if I, for example, and we can get into my routine later, but I hit my meditation, I hit my workouts, I hit my work tasks and a bunch of other things, then by the time it's time to chill, my body's cool. I'm good to hang out. I'm good to chill. It's that sounds impossible for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, once you implement the steps to feel productive and feel like you earned it, leisure time is way better and work time is way better.
Dude, so it's funny you're bringing this up so early on. So I've hit both ends of that spectrum in the
Mhm.
last few years where at first, again, I was the type of person who it would be like, oh, I worked really hard the past 2 days. I can sleep in and then watch some TV and then I'll get to my stuff later. And I realized obviously that's not going to do anyone any good. So then once I really dove deep into working on myself, working on business, working on life, I hit that workaholic stage of I'm just going to keep grinding until I basically just burn out. And then once I'm done burning out, I'm going to start grinding again. And it was not until recently where I was actually training with one of my friends and he had us using like lightsabers and bow staffs and clubs
Hmm.
and like all this stuff. And I was like, why do you do that? He's like, it's fun. What do you mean? Like, you got to have some fun every once in a while. And
Yeah.
as weird as it sounds, I didn't even think of that. And so I completely get what you're saying of, yeah, you got to put in the work, but you also have to reward that work with something. Otherwise, what's the point?
There's no reward if there was no work beforehand, right? Like that, if you're just rewarding yourself when you don't deserve it, it's not going to be a long-term reward. It's going to be a short-term reward. And the way human beings are wired is we will do things by default that we know are bad for us in the long term because it feels good in the short term. So you have to fight that in a way. For example, in the short term, what you were doing before, waking up and scrolling on social media, is rewarding in the short term. Ooh, dopamine. Ooh, likes. Ooh, people that I like to follow and hear from. But in the long term, maybe the night, as you said, you're like, God damn, I started this morning bad, and then I ended up not having a productive day, and the whole day wasn't focused. And then no matter what, even so, the next day you do the same thing, right? Unless you work on your productivity, work on your habits, etc. So that's the thing. It's really important your mind is a muscle, just like your body. And if you don't work on it, it's gonna get fat, So that's why it's important to do.
Yeah, man. And so on the topic of habits and morning routine, I know you are very similar to me where you know the importance of a morning routine. You have a little different approach than I do, but I think yours will work for a ton of people. And I love the fact that you say your morning routine actually starts the night before. So if you could just very briefly run people through like what your process is.
Sure, absolutely. At the time of this recording, my morning routine is the link in my Instagram bio. So there's a longer explanation in there, but I call it the Michael Jordan morning routine. And essentially, yeah, it starts the night before. And the way it works is you are going to, yeah, I believe in to-do lists as well, right? But I believe in doing them a little bit differently. So you're going to make a list of everything you want to do the next day, right? Just one big page, everything you want to do. Then you are going to label each thing on a scale of 1 to 3 on how important it is. 3 being the most important, 1 being not so important, right? So maybe a 3 is that I meditate. Maybe a 2 is that I post on social media. Maybe a 1 is I order some socks off Amazon, right? 3, 2, and 1. Then once I have all the numbers labeled with all the tasks, then I put the task on my to-do list in order. All the 3s first, all the 2s, then all the 1s, right? So that's the first step. Then you are going to, again, what I do, I'm a little bit extreme, but I list every single hour of the next day of when I expect to be awake, right? So let's call it 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then what I believe I'll be doing each hour, right? So that's the kind of the long version of it. But the big thing is you can't do the 2s before the 3s, and you can't do the 1s before the 2s. So not only is this a morning routine that's going to help you, it's going to help you prioritize, right? So I call it prestige prioritization, right? But specifically for the morning, after all that good list stuff, and the reason that it starts the night before is you need to make the list. The most important part of the MJ morning routine is that you follow 3 steps for the first hour of your day, just the first 60 minutes, right? You can get longer as you get more advanced, but for the first 60 minutes are the most critical. So in those first 60 minutes, here's what I recommend. At bare minimum, 2 minutes of meditation being the first thing you do. Now, if you don't know how to meditate and you want to learn how to meditate, I actually host a free meditation call every Saturday at 10 a.m. So, we could talk about that later if you want to join that. But just 2 minutes of breathing, right? Even if you don't know how to meditate and you don't want to join my call, just breathe for 2 minutes, right? The second thing you do is move for 10 minutes, right? So you meditate for 2 minutes, move. You can walk, you can do push-ups, jumping jacks. I don't care. Just give me 10 minutes. You can do more, but you can't do less. And then the last step is for the remaining 48 minutes, you cannot look at your phone or computer notifications. So the best thing to do is to put your phone in airplane mode the night before and, turn the Wi-Fi off on your computer, for example. So with those remaining 48 minutes, a lot of people are going to panic. So what do I do with these 48 minutes that I have? Well, there's a bunch of things you can do. You could take a walk, you could journal. For everybody, it's a little bit different. I don't force anybody to do anything. Just the big thing is do not look at your phone, do not look at the computer in that first hour. And I've worked with a lot of people, Trevor. I got to tell you, man, like this changes people's life because it's very basic. It's 1 hour. Everybody can do it. And for somebody that's first starting, what might be smart to do the night before is download an educational podcast or an audiobook so you can listen to that in the first 48 minutes. You can't listen to like a sports podcast or entertainment stuff. Like that's all for later, right? Which I'll get to in a second. But for that first hour, it's 2 minutes meditation, 10 minutes of movement, 48 minutes of some other educational good activity as opposed to looking at your phone or your computer.
Yes. Okay. So anyone who does not currently do something to set yourself up proactively in the morning, test that out. Because again, I've heard the testimonials. This quite literally has changed people's lives following that program. Mine's a little different, but it follows the same rules of stay off of your phone because that's
Yep.
automatically going to put you in a reactionary state. That is the
Absolutely.
last thing you want. You're waking up with a clean slate. Use it to your advantage. So what I do is similar. I do a gratitude practice. So that's kind of my meditation. I still do breath work as I'm doing it, but I do a gratitude practice, get up, throw myself a little dance party. So I start moving and grooving first thing in the morning. And then I'm listening to some type of motivational audio followed by an educational audio, usually an
Yep.
audiobook of some sort. And so at that point, I'm motivated. I'm grateful. My body is moving. I'm hydrated because I'm just constantly pounding water. Like my education has improved in one way or another. And so if you can do all of that in the first 45 to 75 minutes of your day, your approach to that day is going to feel second to none. You're going to feel like you're on top of the freaking world. And then when things don't go well, which inevitably one day they won't, you're ready for it because you have that winner's mindset already cultivated and ready to go.
I love that. And I completely agree. There's different variations of it. You got to find what works for you. I find this works best for the people I work with, but I encourage you to try things. But again, that common element of do not look at your phone first thing in the morning. I can't emphasize it enough. Put it in airplane mode the night before so you don't get those notifications because, and I don't know how deep you want me to go down this rabbit hole as well, but the truth is, we're not smarter than these billion-dollar companies that are getting us addicted to their products. We're just not. We're human beings, and even if we know the dopamine rush and the manipulative things they do, it doesn't matter because we're still susceptible to it. This is why salesmen are very easy to sell to. They might know all the tips and tricks, but they're still humans. You can know all the psychological triggers, but you're not you're still vulnerable to them. And there's a billion things, but I'll give you one small thing that makes us addicted to our phones. Curious, Trevor, the notifications on your phone, whether it's text messages or in your Instagram inbox when it says you have messages, what color is it?
Like the light when it
Yeah,
pops up. Oh man, it's different colors. So like texting is blue,
No. I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about the actual notification on your phone when it says one message or two messages.
Oh, it's
Uh,
white. Mine's
no,
white.
it's okay. So it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you were to go into your Instagram right now and you had extra messages, that would be bright red, wouldn't it?
Oh, okay. I get what you're
You know
saying.
what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yep. Okay. Like the bright
It,
orangish reddish
yeah,
dot.
notice that's in your texts as well. That's in your
Yep.
Facebook notifications. That's in any notification thing. Why? Why do you think they're using red for literally everything? Because red is the color of danger. Red is the color of fire. Red is the color of sex and passion. This is just a small thing. Everything is calculated. They are using the color scheme that they know will get you to click on their products. And by the way, there's another thing that, as I was mentioning before, human beings will choose the path of least resistance. Let's say you're looking at your phone, or let's say you get distracted by the TV and you get a call that, or you find out your mom is in the hospital and you should call her, right? But then you look at your phone and then there's a notification. And let's say you spend an extra 10 minutes on the notification and you don't call your mom. It doesn't mean you don't love your mom. But what it does mean is it plays on the bias of what's focal becomes causal, which basically means what's in front of your face is what you end up prioritizing, right? So your phone, if it's in front of your face first thing in the morning and all day in your computer, it doesn't matter if you know that it's not as important as calling your mom or visiting a friend in the hospital. You will prioritize the thing in front of your face.
Dude, so true. And I think there's a documentary on Netflix that talks all about how much research and manpower goes into every single detail on there. And
Social dilemma.
yeah, yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, or if you don't believe him, go watch that. It lays everything out, how much work and just insanity is put into like every minute detail of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now,
You could watch that 2 hour documentary, or you could go on my Instagram where it's like way better explained, and I did it before them. So no, I'm playing.
yeah,
No, you should check
no,
out the documentary. You should do
I
both.
agree. Do both.
When that came out, I'm like, man, these dudes are copying me.
But yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Also, I think this is a good tangent into one thing you talk about, which is one of the biggest problems we face, if not the biggest problem we face, whether it's teens or adults, is the inability to manage abundance. So if you could talk
Mm,
about that for a little bit, I love that quote.
thank you. Um, so unlike unlike the way it used to be, there were times, not in the not too recent past, where human beings didn't have enough food to eat. That was the biggest struggle, right? So tribes were formed and people literally had to bond and communicate to make that happen. And I forget the exact stat, but I think the average household throws out $600 worth of food per year. Like we're just throwing away food. That's how much food we have, right? And you know, we're a generation that really hasn't had a major war. The thing is, because we have so much, we end up struggling to manage that because it's actually easier. I talk about this with my clients all the time, but I don't think freedom is freedom. I think structured freedom is freedom, right? Because if you have too much freedom, too much abundance, too much, you don't know what to do. That's why so many people struggle to work from home, especially when the pandemic started. It's like you have to hold yourself accountable. You know, say what you will about commuting to offices or being in a 9 to 5, but at least there's some structure, right? At least you have to be there at a certain time, you leave at a certain time, and you feel somewhat fulfilled knowing that you did something that was structured. The reason people feel so crappy lately, and by the way, the numbers on anxiety, depression, suicide, domestic violence, and drugs is sky high right now. Why? Because people do not have structure. They have too much abundance. They don't know what to do, right? And it's really sad that that's been the side effect that people didn't really consider when they decided to lock everybody inside. Because when you did that, you deprived people of human contact, you deprived them of structure, and that's why it led to all these mental issues. So it's something that most people don't consider. But when you have too much abundance, you can drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, man. So this is something I talk about all the time, and I can't claim this quote because it's that far precedes me, but I don't remember where I heard it. Maybe you know, but someone said true freedom comes from restriction. So,
Mm,
AKA, like the more disciplined you are and the more
yep.
able you are to restrict yourself from, eating all junk food or laying around all day or doing all these things, that's what's going to give you the freedom. When you're disciplined enough to work out regularly, you're going to have the freedom to go hike that mountain. When
Absolutely.
you discipline yourself not to eat, you know, McDonald's for breakfast, Quick Trip for lunch, and Taco Bell for dinner, that gives you the freedom to have the energy to go out and do the things you want to do. And we won't even get into the cellular level of that, which you quite literally are what you eat. But everything, in my opinion, obviously not everything, most things come down to the choice of what do you want now or what do you want most? And when you choose the most, that's where ultimate freedom comes in.
Let me give you another gem on that specific note. So a lot of people come to me because they want more energy. I don't have a lot of energy. It feels tough to get things done. Here's the thing, and I can't claim this quote either. I believe it was Nightingale who said, because here's a question. Have you ever had a long day of work, Trevor? Maybe this was before you were your best self. And I'm going to keep doing that joke until it lands. So, you had a long day of work and you decided, you know what? I've earned going on social media. Let me just go in and see what happens. And you go in there, and by the time you get out, you're actually more tired than you were before. Well,
Yeah.
if that has happened, that's happened.
Yep.
Okay, there's a reason for that because the brain, the mind, does not tire like an arm or a leg. All it requires is a switch of activity, right? So if you've been grinding all day on your work, you don't necessarily have to go on social media or watch Netflix to relax. You can do something a little bit more constructive, whatever that case may be. Talking to a friend, writing in a journal, learning an instrument, learning a language. You're not going to be more tired because you're doing something that's quote unquote more mentally taxing. It actually isn't. Your brain doesn't get tired the same way your body does. It just requires a switch of focus. And on that same note, to prove my point, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Question. What was the body language of the Chiefs and Mahomes at the end of the game?
Oh,
How did they
horrible.
look? They looked tired. They
Yeah.
looked defeated. They looked like they needed a break, right? To watch some Netflix and chill out. What was the body language of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Upbeat, confident.
Jumping up and
Yep.
down, going crazy. Tom Brady and Gronk's doing crazy things. So, but that doesn't make any sense physically, right? Because they both played 4 quarters of grueling football, hitting the crap out of each other. But why does one team look like they're exhausted and another team look like they could play another 10 games? Well, the reason is you get energy by completing tasks, right? The Chiefs are tired because they're incomplete. They did not get the mission done. That's why they're tired. The Buccaneers did the same amount of physical work, but because they felt complete, the job is done. That's why they can party all night and jump up and down. So your energy is not dictated by the amount of physical exertion or mental exhaustion. It's did you complete? Do you feel complete when you go to bed at night? Right? Do you feel like you accomplished what you were supposed to accomplish? If you want to get more energy, ironically, you should do more as opposed to less.
And so I'll add something to that. I agree you should do more, but you should do more things that actually spark your passion. Like if
Right?
you're just doing mundane task after mundane task of stuff you really don't give a crap about, like you're not going to have that energy. It needs to be stuff that you actually value. So like for me, I completely agree with what you're saying. So I'll kind of break down real quick. So I don't think I've done this yet, surprisingly, on here, but I'll break down real quick what my day looks like. I get up in the morning, do that morning routine we talked about, drive to work. I listen to my motivational audio and educational audio on the way to work for a good 5 hours at the gym, get either one workout in there or go to the other gym, get my weights training and stuff in there, go home, eat, meditate. Then I hop on, do best self stuff for a while, usually do a podcast or two. Right before dinner, educate myself again. So do a little more reading, eat dinner. Then I do a little more like stretching, something like that. And then I quite literally in my schedule, usually the last hour or two of the day, it just says chill. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Because I've structured everything properly, I get everything done that I need to get done. I've done stuff that I'm passionate about. I've kept my body, my mind, and my spirit alive all day doing these things. And I can feel good about relaxing. And I know I've earned it and it's planned out. And as weird as that sounds, I feel like what you said, when you plan out that time to relax, knowing that you've accomplished what you need to, you can truly relax.
Yeah, what I call that for my people, because look, I don't think you have to be productive every second of the day. In fact, I think that you can drive yourself crazy there too. But I call it the guilt-free binge, which is like that last hour at night. Go crazy. You want to go on social media, you want to go on Netflix, you want to binge watch something, I have no problem. Again, assuming you earned it, right? That's not a problem, and you get the proper amount of sleep. So there are some caveats, right? I usually give myself a guilt-free binge hour as opposed to 4 hours. Pro tip: don't download Clubhouse, because if you do, you'll be on that thing until 5 a.m. Even the productivity king fell victim to that. So be careful of that. But yeah, a guilt-free binge, absolutely. And adding to your point, it also makes you better prepared, as you were saying before, for disruption. So I was on a work call at 1 p.m. during the summer, and I got a call from a friend. So I paused the work call, someone that's important to me. In fact, he had actually just been he had just been in the hospital, right? So it was like I needed to answer the phone, right? And he said, "Hey man, I'm with my girl. We're actually nearby you. Would it be cool to drop by and maybe grab dinner?" And it's 1 p.m. And of course, I had a list of tasks, and I said, "Give me 1 second. Look at my list. Look at those threes. See which ones were already done and what could be moved to the next day. Twos and ones. Adjust my schedule. Make sure that I know what I'm doing the next day so I don't feel crazy when they come here and feel like I shouldn't be doing something." Adjusted the things on my hour by hour. And then I said, "Absolutely, come over." And he comes over, and we have an amazing night. We grab dinner, we hang out, and I don't feel guilty, and I don't feel like, oh my God, I should be working, because it's already planned for the next day. So I'm not like the kind of guy that says you have to follow this plan every single hour. Life is going to throw curveballs, and you got to be able to be flexible and adjust, and you got to be cool, calm, and collected under pressure. So unlike a lot of other people I hear out there, I think it's important to have flexibility. I think it's important to enjoy yourself at night, but you need to earn it, and you still need to plan.
Dude, for sure. One, like life is about living.
Mm.
So you need to allow yourself, yes, if you've got big goals and big dreams and you want to be crazy successful in whatever you do, that's going to require sacrifice. That's going to require a little extra work. But at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying like any downtime, if you're not hanging out with friends, if you're not watching any new movies or doing any new activities, are you really living? So that's where I think that comes into play where yeah, you need to understand there's, and I don't like using the word balance necessarily, but there is a balance of what you need to sacrifice and what you need to make sure you hold on to and still do with your free time.
I couldn't agree more. And probably the thing I talk about most productivity wise is helping people overcome their social media addictions, especially people that are millennials or even the generation above it. I mean, God bless, I love my parents, but nobody is not susceptible to these triggers, because sometimes when I'll come home to grab dinner with my folks, and I notice they're on their phones during dinner. I'm like, this is not how dinner's supposed to be, right? I don't want to get preachy or be annoying, but it's important that you don't become addicted to this thing, because it's going to deprive you of real connection. So that's kind of one of the main things I work on with people, is making sure that they're not overcoming social media addiction. I don't think there's anything else you could do that will increase the amount of time you have per day than overcoming that.
Yeah, man. I've been obsessed with the saying getting like red pilled recently. I had a
That
conversation a
has a
while
lot
ago.
of connotations, my brother.
So red pill in terms of like a truth bomb, basically, or like
Yeah.
you're getting pulled out of the matrix. So
Yeah, no.
in my opinion, when you you finally realize this stuff. And like, as daunting as it is, like really calculate how many times you see your family per year and how many more years those people are going to be alive. That's how many more times in your lifetime you get to see those people. And you're wasting one of those times to check your Instagram feed. Like,
Yeah.
so that's where to me, it's like you almost get pulled out of the matrix when you like see all these people like staring at their screens and you're just looking around like, what is happening right now? They're almost
Yeah.
hypnotized.
As I said, these billion-dollar companies are smarter than us. You're not stupid for being addicted to your phone. You are a victim that just needs some help. Like anything else. It's interesting in I believe it's South Korea or Taiwan. I'm not sure which one, but they have social media addiction rehabilitation centers for kids that are like young. Like they have classes that educate students on how to not be addicts to their phones. And if I was president of this place, that'd be the first thing I implemented.
Yeah, and it's the other thing too though is I again talk about this all the time, but I don't want people to get the idea that like I hate social media or like I
Me
hate
either.
it's a great tool. I think it's a good place. I store a lot of my pictures on there. Like that's why I post sometimes. I do
Man,
that. It's good for business. It's good
for sure.
for
That's why we're talking right now.
yeah, exactly. It's good for connecting with people. So there are a lot of great things, but just like alcohol or just like TV or just like anything else, you need to be able to control it. And so, again, real quick, if anyone has trouble controlling it, reach out to either of us, and we are more than happy to help you. Um,
Absolutely. I'll
so
do you
it's
one better. I'll do you one better on that. A knife, right? A knife is awesome to have in your house. You can cut up vegetables and open packages in ways that you couldn't if you just had to use your hands, much less efficient. But you could also stab yourself in the face, right? And cut your arm open, right? Social media is the same way. You can use it to be on the Best Self podcast. You could use it to educate yourself and learn about, watch TED Talks and inspire and build a business. And for me, like my the best thing social media has done for me I started this meditation call every Saturday when the pandemic went because I knew people needed help with mental health. And now I have 30 people that I've never met before just coming to the call every single week or so. And it's amazing. I've never met these people, but I feel connected to them. It's great. Or there are other people that are using it to just watch it all day and jerk off like 3 times a day and then feel crappy about themselves when they go to bed at night. So there's different, and in my opinion, that's them cutting themselves with a knife. And for us, that's me like opening the package or cutting some vegetables. So there are different ways you can use it, but it's impossible to use it correctly because by default, as a human, if you don't account for certain things by planning, you will fall and you will stab yourself in the arm by accident.
for sure, man. So just like knowing how much knowledge you have around the subject of health and mindset and productivity, what was it that got you on this path? Like what caused you to really start diving into this stuff? And then what made you want to then teach it to other people?
Sure. I'm trying to think of the right time to start at because, you know, um, yeah, I guess I could just start here. So in 2018, I just found that I had hit a wall of I was doing well. I was doing well by all measures, financially, work, etc. I'd been promoted. I was running events. I really liked my job, but I just knew inside I could be doing more, right? And I think for high achievers, people around them are like, "You're doing great. You're doing amazing," but you know in your heart that you can be doing better. Some people listening to this probably know that, and the thing is, when you're good at your job, you can kind of coast, right? You can kind of coast on everything outside of your job. So for me, I was waking up right before I had to go to work. I was going on way too many Tinder dates, spending way too much money, and not working on myself outside of work. And I'm like, why am I doing why? I know this is the wrong thing to do. This is not correct. And I actually began working with a coach myself. And in that time, I can't even explain how it happened, but it just came to me. the MJ morning routine just came to my brain. I can't explain how it happened. I'm a big basketball fan. I've got Kobe and Jordan both on my laptop and on my phones. I've got stickers of them. There you go. There's Kobe, right? There's the Jordan's right there. And it just came to my brain. And I started implementing it myself. And I just noticed that I was getting way more done. I was feeling significantly better, all because I had come up with this routine that began to help me overcome my social media addiction. So there's actually a video on YouTube, if you look it up, Michael Jordan morning routine, or I think it's, yeah, start your day like Michael Jordan. And it's on my boss's channel, actually, on Brandon Carter's channel. I just taught it to the staff, just like on a whim, the first day I thought of it. And it's again, to this day, my crowning achievement in terms of the amount of lives it impacted. And when people told me how much it was helping them, I was like, all right, well, let me start posting about it. See if people, is there even a niche for this? Do people want to go on Instagram and hear about how they shouldn't be using Instagram? Turns out there is. Turns out there's not many people talking about the problem. And as people started to get interested and as they began to ask me about working with me, it's like, all right, yeah. So I started doing coaching on it. I started releasing a couple of, PDFs and things like that. I started speaking about it publicly during presentations and at events. So that was kind of the origin story. I just scratched my own itch because I knew, and I didn't think many people could relate to the problem the way I could, because I was 25 at the time, or 24, I don't remember. And just adults didn't get it. A lot of people, these productivity, other people, they just didn't understand the problem because I was in the problem. I fixed it myself, and then I began fixing it for other people. So that's kind of how it started.
So just because I saw the two phones, this is a question I would love to ask you, because I'm big on this. What is your process of prioritizing who you invest your time in?
Yeah. So again, people assume I'm anti-technology, but I have two phones and I'm on my laptop right now. I'm not anti-technology. Here's the thing. One of the problems of having your notifications on and your phone on all the time, it means everyone in the world has equal access to you, right? So you can be notified that your mom is calling you. You can be notified that some random guy on Instagram is trolling you, right? The random troll on the internet and my mother should not be in an equivalent way of being able to reach out to me, right? So how I prioritize with two phones is only a limited amount of people have that phone number, right? The bat phone, I call it, right? Then there's the personal phone, right? So you go on a date with a girl, you meet her for the first time, great, let's talk again. She's getting the regular phone number. You know what I mean? The bat phone is for, like my closest friends that might have an emergency, or my family, et cetera, et cetera. So when I take my phone out of airplane mode, I'm not taking them both out of airplane mode. I'm taking the bat phone out first, right? And there's other things you can do that I talk about, like certain applications to have on that phone versus not. Like maybe on that phone, you have Trainerize and MyFitnessPal, but you don't have Instagram. And then you have kind of the stuff that's more fun and playful on the personal phone. So that's one of the ways I prioritize. I have two phones, but also just even if you don't want to get two phones, turn off your notifications, turn them all off. Because again, you won't be as susceptible to that big shiny red notification that's telling you there's danger. Another thing you can do, you put your phone in grayscale, which is something that's very easy to do. So it's black and white. Again, just to stop yourself from being addicted to it. But yeah, if you don't want to get two phones, keep your phone in airplane mode longer, turn off notifications, and turn your phone in black and white. And it's going to be easier to manage.
And then I want to transition into like in-person, real face-to-face friendships, because this is something I ask this to people who I think have a good grasp on it, so that other people can hear what they have to say. So it's as cheesy as it sounds, you are the average of the people you spend the most time with. So what's kind of your litmus test, or how do you determine who gets to, and it is a privilege to be among people with that winning mindset who are doing great things and trying to succeed at a high level. How do you process who you allow into your life and who you give your time to?
It's a great question. So a question I have for people that are listening to this that might be wondering that is, when you're around X person, how does your mood change? Do you get higher energy? Do you get lower energy? Do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? Things like that are my litmus test. So I don't need someone to be, I don't know, higher than me on the, social hierarchy scale. They don't have to be a celebrity, or they don't have to be or if they're someone that's just starting out. Like I'm not like that. That's not the problem. I just want to know, are you positive? Are you trying to get better? And are we making each other better by talking to each other? Because the clients I work with, for example, I get better talking to them, right? It's not just them that are benefiting from the relationship. And likewise, for my coaches that I work with that train me, they get better talking to me. So that's why I'm very selective about who I allow into my life, because whether it's a client or a friend, I'm the kind of dude that wants to have very strong connections with less people, as opposed to a bunch of shallow connections with many people. And I feel like everybody feels that way, but it's very easy to like each other's posts on Instagram and then never meet the person, right? So my litmus test is, what's my energy when I'm with them? What's my mood when I'm with them? And are they trying to improve? Right? Because not everybody's going to be at the same level at the same time. It doesn't mean they can't be sad or ask for help or, be disappointed or even depressed, right? But are they looking to improve? If they just want to energy suck and be sad and not want to fix anything and not even open to feedback, then I gotta keep it pushing. And in my experience, people struggle with this the most with significant others, right? So whether it's a girlfriend, boyfriend, or even just someone you're hooking up with, you'll overlook the bad energy or the sadness because you want to, continue that benefit. But fellas, ladies, it ain't worth it. Know your worth.
Dude, yes. And I love the fact that you added like it's not about status. It's not about, the outside look of like how does it look you spending time with this person? It's how do you feel? And that was
Mm-hmm.
something I didn't realize it until that got pointed out to me. But it's one of those things where like once you know it, you can't like not think about it when you're with people. So I was hyper aware of how I felt not only when I was with people, but like as I was going into hanging out with the person, while I was hanging out with them, and then as I was leaving, did I feel better? Did I feel worse? Like, did I enjoy that time? Did it just feel like a waste? And it sounds mean, but it's at the end of the day, it's saving you both a lot of time. The fact that if you keep doing that, you're going to build up, not only regret, but you're going to build up almost like frustration towards the person for wasting your time on a subconscious level. And then it's really going to blow up at some point. So do yourself a favor, go in, spend time with these people, and just do a quick audit of how you feel on an energy level and emotional level when you're with them.
Completely agree.
Sweet. All right. So before we wrap up, I do a final two. So two questions to everybody who comes on the show. But first, like let people know where they can connect with you, because there are a lot of people who I'm sure will have questions for you about mindset, about how to, boost productivity a little bit. Maybe they want to meditate a little bit on Saturday mornings, but where can people connect with you?
For sure. So on Instagram, the best way to connect with me is at Trillsteen. That's Trillsteen. And on there, if you want to join my Saturday meditation calls, you can DM me the word love 2021, and I will send you the information for that. And the link in my bio is a longer explanation to the MJ morning routine. So that's the best place to reach me. That's the best place to get started, I would say, is the MJ morning routine and attending one of those meditation calls.
Sweet. Hopefully you'll have a lot of new people on there. We'll
I hope
see.
so, man. I hope to see you on there sometime.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm actually already thinking about it. I can't do Saturday because I work in the morning, but you'll see me on there.
Okay, sounds good.
Or I'll get my boot camp class to stop working out for a little bit and meditate. We'll see.
Sounds good.
All right. So getting into the final two. So the first question, what right now for you is the next step in you becoming your best self?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
Next best step for me.
Or something you're currently working on.
Oh, sure. This isn't this isn't like maybe meta, but something that I've always wanted to learn how to do that I didn't know how to do before is play an instrument, right? I've quit piano so many times I can't even remember. And this is the first time that I've like stayed consistent. I'm not perfect, I'm not amazing, but like I can play a song now, which is super exciting. And it's important for me in 2021 I stick with that. And by the way, the reason I have time, how do you have time to play piano? Because I'm not wasting time on my phone. So, something that I highly encourage people to do in general, another pro tip, if you want to rise, whatever that means, on the social hierarchy, you got to become more interesting. And you become more interesting with what you do in your leisure, right? So, outside of work, who are you? Well, outside of work, I meditate, I speak fluent Spanish, I play basketball, I dance, which is a new thing. I learned how to dance. Like these, you throw these things. I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and if I can say I play piano, I'm throwing all these things out here to increase the likelihood that someone will latch onto something. If you do a bunch of things, this is why Joe Rogan is so popular, in my opinion. What doesn't this guy do? He's a black belt. He's a comedian. He's a podcaster. He's a hunter. If you can add to your repertoire of things you do that is interesting, there's no human being on earth that won't be able to connect with you in some regard.
Dude, yes. And like that's something where I feel like for people like you, I definitely feel this way. I do things in my like leisure time. I do things that will have the most like ROI in terms of fun, in terms of like excitement, and in terms of like I just like to do cool stuff. So
Yeah.
like I've done a whole bunch of like weird, crazy stuff. But it's one of those things where I just do it because it's fun. And then all of a sudden people hear about it and they're like, oh, that's insane. I could never do that. It's like, well, you could. It didn't take that long to do it, but it's just about having that intentionality behind how, like, in terms of optimizing your day. It's also in terms of like one of my main goals in life is to do as much cool stuff as I possibly can. And I'm not going to do that when I'm wasting time. So that's like, I love that. And by the way, I used to play the piano as well. I haven't in a while. So you get bonus points for that. But yes, just
Nice.
learning new stuff, doing new stuff, meeting new people, all of it is so important. So I think that's awesome.
You got to get creative nowadays, right? Depending on where you live.
Yeah, but yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think more people should adopt that mindset of like just doing something new, switch it up, make it interesting. So
Completely agree.
sweet. All right. Last question. And I think you'll like this one. So, the last question is really an opportunity for you to challenge the listeners. So, you get to challenge them to do one thing, one task that, when completed, will better their life in some way, teach them something about themselves, like something that goes along the lines of bettering yourself. Like, what's one challenge you would give to people listening?
All right, I got a good one. I assigned this to my clients. You guys are getting this for free. I want you to make a list of somewhere between 10 and 20 of the human beings you interact with most, right? Similar, 5 people you hang around with most, but 10 to 20, call it 15. I want you to list 15 people that you hang out with most, that you see the most, that you talk to the most. Could be family, could be friends, etc. Next to their name, I want you to put a up arrow or a down arrow. The down arrow means that you are giving them more in the relationship, right? Like so if like I'm talking to one of my clients, generally speaking, I'm giving them more, right? Um, I want you to give the up arrow where people are giving you more in the relationship. That might be a mentor or a friend or etc. Or you can put an equal sign if you guys are getting pretty much equal value from that friendship or relationship. Then just take a look. How many of these relationships, if you see that it's a bunch of down arrows, like you've got a balance problem, right? And it doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing, right? Because a down arrow can make you feel good, right? If you're helping a client or helping a friend or whatever. But if it's all that way, then you might have to reevaluate that top 5 you hang out with, because it shouldn't be the case that you're just giving and giving and giving and giving and not getting much in return. So this is something I assign to my clients, because if we see, okay, there's too many down arrows here, how do we make it so you start associating with people that you're learning and growing from as well? So I encourage you, make that list of 15, down arrow and up arrow. And if your ratio is messed up, it might be time to reevaluate some relationships.
Yeah. I'll also add, I love that, by the way. Like, I
Mhm.
almost went on a tangent. I got to stop and just say everyone should freaking do that, because that is an amazing practice. But I want to also add, if you have all up arrows, you need to start doing something to add value to people. Like,
Exactly.
you need to add value in
Balance, baby.
relationships. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that one. Well, Trillsteen, I appreciate you coming on. It was a blast, getting to actually like meet you face to face,
Yep.
and just kind of picking your brain. I love your content. Seriously, anybody who's watching this, go watch his content. He talks about stuff for business, stuff for mindset, stuff for productivity, stuff for just overall life. And if you're living, you're in that category. So if that's you, go follow him. But man, I can't thank you enough. Like, not only for the time, but just your approach to life. Like, I know you are hell bent on making sure that you help as many people as you can optimize their day, optimize their life. And I mean, given I was very ambitious in naming my company Best Self, we're pretty aligned in that approach. And it's something that I just can't give enough respect to people for, who really devote their life to making sure that people are living the best life they can live. So,
Well, thank you for those kind words. It was an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to connect with you more in the future.
oh, for sure. So, thank you everybody for listening. As always, if you have questions for either of us, you can comment below. You can reach out to us privately. If you have comments, obviously comment below. We always like to hear if you try out the MJ morning routine and it works, or for some reason it doesn't. If you try out my morning routine and it works or it doesn't, like, we like hearing that stuff. That is why we thrive on testimonials, and that's why we do what we do. So let us know. And again, if there's someone who you think could benefit from this talk, which is, again, everyone, make sure you share it with them. We want to get this in front of as many people as possible. So, to everybody listening, thank you as always, and we will see you next time.